So I'll just say a little bit about Hey Neighbor Collective. We are what's called a collective impact project. So in a collective impact project, you bring together all sorts of different partners, and you work in collective action towards a shared vision. So in our case, that vision is a future where more of Canada's multi-unit housing communities are socially connected, age-friendly, neighborly, health-promoting, and resilient. So we bring together rental housing operators, place-based community nonprofits, city governments, regional governments, health authorities, researchers, and work with residents of multi-unit housing to build community, social connectedness, and resilience. So that happens in lots of different ways. Some of it is through innovative programming within existing housing. Sometimes it is working with folks like many of you, local planners, architects, consultants, to think about how we actually shift systems and policies so that more of our multi-unit housing, when it's being built, is being built so that it is, intentionally fostering neighborly social connection, resilience, health, whatnot. I'm going to let Madeline tell you a little bit about Happy Cities.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, so I'm mostly in charge of housing work at Happy Cities. My background is in architecture, so I come at it from that lens. But we've had the privilege to work with Hey Neighbor Collective and many other partners on our housing policy work in the last few years. Housing is just a small piece of what we do. We also do, you may have seen our work around placemaking or accessibility as well. So yeah, I'm happy to be joining all of you today, and you'll hear from me later.
Excellent. And I do just very quickly want to thank all of our amazing funders. So these are funders and supporters who have helped to kind of financially support the work that we've been doing since 2023 together on this. So I won't try to name each of them individually, but just really want to say thank you for supporting this work, and not just supporting it, but pretty much all of these organizations are actually really involved in the work too. So they're not just funding it, they're actually participating in it and helping to build it and co-create it with us. So I'm going to step back a little bit from the agenda of the day and just talk a quick bit about why social connections are so important. So really, they're essential to our survival. We the concept that we are independent or that we are individuals and that that is the highest state of being actually runs counter to our implicit biology. So when we feel chronically lonely or socially isolated, it actually it actually fires up the part of our brain that worries we won't survive, right? We're left behind. There's tigers out there. So it's very, very stressful on our system. And there's extremely solid research now globally to prove out that chronic loneliness and social isolation are actually as damaging to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and it can increase the risk of premature death by as much as 50%. So this is not a small thing, and when you look at it, if we're seeing loneliness and social isolation increase, which we have been locally and globally, that has huge ramifications on individual and collective health and the systems that that we use to sustain our health. So way too much demand on actual health systems and health care when so much of this could be dealt with outside of the health system. And so we're really interested in looking at how can housing be part of this? So how can housing actually help us develop stronger social connections that protect us, that are protective for both physical and mental health, and also protective for cognitive decline. So anybody who's paying any attention at all knows we are in a very significant demographic bulge where there's a high percentage of older adults, and that has there's the term silver tsunami, which for good reasons lots of people don't like. But we are entering a time where if we don't think about this differently, it will have very significant consequences. So that's what we're really all about here. Um, our project is specifically interested in neighborly social connections. So how do we build that in multi-unit housing context, and why is knowing your neighbors particularly important? And I think, we all went through COVID-19 and that gave us a real lesson in what it means if you know your neighbors well and can count on them for support and they can count on you for support. And not just, help with groceries, but, that emotional support that we all need every day. So lots of evidence to really point at the intergenerational benefits of knowing your neighbors. So I won't go through these bullet points. There's a link to our evidence backgrounder on this. Um, so in Canada, we aren't really formally recognizing the crisis of loneliness and social isolation in the way that other jurisdictions, like the US, well, under the last administration anyway, were. And the UK, Japan, Australia is really doing amazing work around recognizing nationally this as a public health crisis, and we are behind in Canada on that. The only areas where we really recognize it and are doing any significant work is for older adults, which is important, but also misses the fact that we are all aging. So we will all be older adults one day, and if we don't look at this in the sense of age friendliness, this isn't just an issue once we get old. Um, so we really need to be looking at this across age groups, life course, whatnot. So in on the West Coast in 2021, over 600 people died in 72 hours, and a lot of those were older adults living alone, so no one checking in. So we're really looking at also how do neighborly social connections protect us in a time of climate change. So this isn't just an individual thing, but really a collective issue. So we are in a time of polycrisis. Again, probably don't have to tell most people that. We are, struggling with multiple crises at one time, and a time like that calls for multi-solving. So really, that's what we want everybody to be thinking about here is these aren't isolated policies we're talking about. We want you to be looking at how does building social connectedness in multi-unit housing connect to the 16 different domains of policy that I'm being asked to work on, or that my team is being asked to work on. And I want us to take seriously the idea that housing is essential infrastructure. Unfortunately, the notion of housing as a social determinant of health, housing as a human right, have only gotten us so far. And we really, really need to be thinking of this as essential infrastructure for our health, for our economic well-being, for our safety, and for our social well-being. So if we think about that, how does it affect our policy making? How does it affect our workflows? So very quickly, some context to this project. Um, since 2020, Hey Neighbour has been working with Metro Vancouver, our regional government here, to inform Metro 2050, which is the regional growth strategy. And long story short, when the strategy was approved in February 2023, it included a little nugget in the housing section that says that all 21 member jurisdictions will adopt what are called regional context statements to identify how their policies and actions will contribute to increased social connectedness in multi-unit housing. So we know that this is there because of our work and the people and the organizations we've gathered around us, and it created a specific policy window for us to work directly with municipalities on this. So in the fall of 2023 and early 2024, we gathered 6 jurisdictions from Metro to do a session of 4 full-day workshops across 5 months, and we were really looking at the same information and how do we shift policy. So that culminated in the creation of the toolkit that you've all been given, and then through some continued funding, and then adding on renewable cities as a partner to give us more kind of bench strength. We are now doing these national training sessions.